Hey there, welcome back to Elden Ring. Now, last one we went out, we cleared out the old Weeping Peninsula and whatnot, and we're gonna move on to another section of exploration and lore world stuff. But I've got this, so now we can see what the items are that we got. So we've got the Axe of Godric and the Grafted Dragon because, he has the dragon on him and he was using the axe. So the Great Axe is a great axe wielded by Godric the Grafted, obviously. This golden battle axe is emblazoned with the figure of a beast representing the strength of Godfrey, first Elden Lord and Patriarch of the Golden Lineage. I command thee kneel, for I am the Lord of all that is golden. Yep. The skill, I command thee kneel, repeatedly smash the axe of Godric into the ground, unleashing two shaking shockwaves, followed up to do a third one. Yeah. I mean, so anytime we see a beast thing, we can assume that's like tied into Lord Godfrey and the golden lineage type of things, his strength, right? So like we see that a lot in the various armors, right here, tree and beast. So we've got the tree, the Erd tree, we've got the beast doing the golden lineage, Godfrey. So maybe these were soldiers that were loyal to Godfrey in his line, which is then why they followed Godric. They have the beast insignia on there. Even the grafted greatsword on the hilt section crossguard, it has a beast symbol as well. So like it's across in a bunch of different places. And then also, like, think of this. So this one has a two-headed war axe, an emblem of the golden lineage, which then matches up with the fact that Godric uses a great axe, and apparently maybe Godfrey did as well, since everything he's doing is lining up with like his whole lineage and stuff. And then we've got the Grafted Dragon. The embodiment of the power that still remained in the dragon's head was grafted to Godric's left arm. So it embodies whatever power was left in that head, which when you actually get this thing, it's a small little dragon thing. You don't get a big massive dragon. But your arm will take the form of a small dragon spouting sharp fangs at the fist. It cannot be two-handed, but it grant the dragon a glimpse of fleeting life and thrust it skyward, spewing flames. It's not amazing. So it's not amazing for PvP, but this thing is pretty fun for just regular gameplay, like just fighting enemies. It's kind of fun. So we're back out here in the Mistwoods, the eastern part of Limgrave. Look on the map here. Now there's a couple reasons for that. The first one being like, well, around the Erd tree over here, we fought some tree guardian dudes, and actually we got a piece of armor from them in between recordings. The guardian bracers, engraved golden bracers worn by the guardians of the minor Erd trees. In accordance with an ancient pact with the Erd tree, it is said that their deaths led not to destruction, but instead to be renewed eternal life as guardians. So it kind of explains why maybe they're tree-like. If they are have an ancient pact with the Erd tree and they keep coming back as guardians, maybe a part of that is to just be renewed as trees. So maybe, like, I would almost wonder, like, with the Erd tree avatar, is that, like, was that a guardian? Like, was, like, a chieftain among them or something, right? Or is it, like, literally an embodiment of essentially a deity? Because that's kind of the idea of an avatar, is the embodiment, a physical embodiment of, say, a deity or idea or something like that. But it's also interesting too, that like typically when they die, you get burial, if you might get that Erd tree burial or something, right? And D also just kind of implied that like your soul will just automatically return to the Erd tree anyways. But it seems like this is just a, just a direct renewal, like keep them in place doing exactly what they are rather than a reincarnation per se. So we're looking for that. But then also there is a building over here that we didn't actually connect with earlier. And, we haven't really seen a structure like this. Not exactly, except we have the mausoleum. See how it's got the viney growths on there? See the kind of stylization on it? And this, I don't want to say octagon. I don't know how many sides this has without just going around and counting it. But it's the same thing as a wandering mausoleum down in the Weeping Peninsula. And when we go in it, we can't ride Torrent. Walk in. Kind of similar thing, right? No statues of the guy in there, but there is an elevator. And see how it's got that fancy design, just like a lot of those things have had. And we take it down. It's got an interesting blue magic effect, and this is a really long elevator. And taking it down for the first time, dude, it's just It's so cool going down because they're like, oh, where's this taking me? And then it just goes and it goes and it goes like on and on and on until it starts to open up and you're like, okay, wow, all right, what's going on? And then that. You see some brief glimpse of some structures. Nothing else around us yet right now. And it just goes, man, and it goes. Oh, and there it is behind us. Look at that. There's some buildings in the distance. It's like a starry night. Massive, massive structures. The music changes, the whole tone. My computer shifts. But look at it. We're in just a completely different world. It's crazy. Like, nothing like that in some of the other Dark Souls games. Like, there are some huge transitions in the different zones, but just like to wander around and then go down some elevator and watch it transition you into just something else is just so cool. And it is Siofra River. I think it's pronounced Siofra. It's Irish or Gaelic. I don't actually know which way to call it per se. Now, I am using the Morning Star right now because I was having a lot of fun with that, but the Highland Axe is going to do us better because Bleed is not going to do us much. And look at these cool tablets. Also, Melted Mushroom. We want to put on a torch. Like, we've got this little hip torch as well. Now, again, I mentioned it before, you got to be careful with some of the like textury mural designs and stuff because they don't always mean anything. Sometimes they're just like stock textures and stuff. But I feel like these have some significance, or they were chosen because of like what they have going on there. So I would almost consider these like different stages in a way. Like, can't really see what's happening at the bottom, but big groupings of people going up, and then look at the trees growing, and then like the top one just really makes me think of like a council of some kind. It's too dark now. Why is my hip lantern not really doing anything? Does using that turn off my hip lantern too? Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting look there. But we got a melted mushroom. If we go over here, we've also got another type of item, Dukist herba. So the melted mushroom that grows in the false night in and around the eternal city. It's a material used for crafting items. It drips with a viscous fluid that behaves much like oil. Now, we've heard of the eternal city before. And then we also got the Dukist herba. So we got regular herba, just an evergreen leaves that give off faint light, medicinal plant, thickets and otherwhere. This is found, grows in the false night around the eternal city. And look how it does have dew on it. I like that you can actually see that. Soaked in arcane dew, it gives off the faint glow of starlight. So this gives you just a regular like daylight, whereas this one in the false night gives off a faint glow of starlight. Now, I was trying to remember what item or like what we did that mentioned the eternal city before, because like we heard about it somewhere, and that was our first time hearing it. But there is another item I've gotten, which is the Starlight Shards. Now, I found this outside of this weird item. I took a screenshot, and I wasn't recording at the time. But it was almost this, like, again, kind of a bowl look. And it also had that kind of arc, like we do with some rune arcs that are supposed to, collect blessings. See how it says lower arc of the Elden Ring held to be the basin in which its blessings pool. Now, the structure thing had an arc thing to it. It was like a half bowl, and inside of it were these Starlight Shards. It's an ephemeral sliver that gives off a pale blue glow that remains of a passing flash of starlight. It's a prized item that was once used in the Eternal City as an ingredient in intoxicating draughts. So, we seem to have maybe found the Eternal City, and you can see, again, it's still also just rubble and ruins. And so, they live under a false night. Now, is it a false night of their own making? Is it a false night that, like, I mean, they're underground, so maybe, like, that's why it's a false night. It's because it's simply underground, so there is no daytime. It's all an eternal false night. All right, we can summon things, so there's definitely something bad here. Golden Rune 3. Now, look at that. There's some big pieces of tablets right there. Look at those. And those just have... it looks like the just same repeating thing. So see what I mean about, like, sometimes you got to be careful about what the significance might be because it's just repeating textures. They're just using it. But look at these down here are interesting. There are one a circular disc thing. We've seen discs-like things. And I mean, it's a circle. Like, how much can you draw off of it? But it's similar to the Wandering Mausoleum. And there's an animal on the bottom side. And not just any animal. To me, it looks like a bull, which is the first time I've seen anything that's like a bull. Now, that one looks more of your traditional beasts of sorts, like some kind of either dog or a wolf or maybe a cat of some kind, right? But I find the bull particularly interesting. Because why? Like, what was the significance of that? Like, we've not seen anything about that. Lions, yeah. There's Bly's the half-wolf, so there's that, you know. And then we've got these guys, and there's a big broken statue up over there. Now, look at their texture on them, right? They're all, like, they look like rocks. Now, in some of the mines, there are these miners, and they're like these stone diggers, and they're like stone people. And these guys are also kind of like that, right? Look at the skin and stuff. It looks, you know, not a natural flesh. But they're like dripped. There's like kind of like bubbly, gross sections on their back. Now, luckily for us, when we hit them, our actual light attacks don't ricochet off of them, because that happens with the stone diggers. If you go and you hit them, it, you know, bounces off unless you've got the right sized weapon. But see how they just like melt away into a puddle, and all that's really left is the like a spinal section of them. They're very sturdy. Like, they do not just like break their poise at all. Now we can hear a beetle. There's a beetle. We can see him way up there. See him there? There's that jerk. He's a blue one, and we know that has to do with gathering up different things, because we have gotten a couple helmets now, because I didn't show you this other one. We've got the Ash of War one, and it has rolls clumps of Ashes of War. And then we've got this golden one I found later, where they roll clumps of incantations during their labors. And once he approaches death, it will abandon its rolled treasure and stretch its wings wide for a long journey to its home nest, which is really kind of neat. But let's put on a crossbow, and we're going to shoot this dude. See if we can't knock him down. Looks like you would actually see how the Phantom did it. Look at that. You could totally drop down. I mean, you can see the ledges and stuff too. So maybe we should have just waited to do that, because now we might have messed it up. Oh no, there he is. Oracle Bubbles. So it's a sorcery of the Claymen, who served as priests in the ancient dynasty. Produces several small magic bubbles that drift towards foes before they naturally pop. Charges to increase a delay before the bubbles pop. The Claymen search for lost oracles within their bubbles. So they're Claymen, not rock, which explains like why we don't like bounce off. They're soft, and then that explains why they like reduce down to sludge. It's just like why are there clay people? Why are there rock people? Why is there anybody, right? I mean, there are also alabaster guys, so you know, it's not too far-fetched, I suppose. But the bubbles seem important, and they're looking for oracles within their bubbles. Oh, and there's a bubble right there. But this one's a big one. The spell that we read said small bubbles. So yeah, there they are. There's the bubbles they're casting. We're not going to fight these guys, though, because this is taking a long time. There's really... Unless they could drop their spear for me. That would be kind of cool. That would be war, so I should fight that. And when we get past them, we come up to another set of structures and some waterfalls. But look how these structures are, right? These are very stone and they look really old, right? Prehistoric, an old dynasty, you know, is what the one thing said. But look how this structure is. Look how, like, new it appears. It's a completely different style. It's not like that, which is huge. Like, I don't want to say Egyptian, but you know how, like, if you look at old Egyptian styles, or, you know, like, structures like the pyramids and stuff, you can look at it and you're like, that's really old. And you can see it's made out of big old bricks. And then you get this section, and it's just completely different. So it's like two completely different, like, groups or civilizations. So was that part of the old dynasty? Because that's like where they're lingering at. And then up here, you know, there's also supposed to be the Eternal City. So is what we're about to find up ahead part of the Eternal City? Because, like, look at how, you know, it looks civilized in a way. There's, like, you know, I would say like an aqueduct of sort or something, right? I mean, when there's supposed to be a Siofra River, so, you know, it would make sense. Again, was that blue kind of coloration. Now, these are different. Now, look how the flames are kind of a blue color, right? I didn't notice that down there, but yeah, look, fire is different. Is that something that just happens underground? Because we're way underground, and that's what happens when we go in the catacombs. The fire is different. So maybe it has something to do with underground. And then we've just got, you know, the first time seeing any statues like this. And they've got an emblemly symbol on their chest, like the robes. Interesting kind of conal headdress. Yeah, pretty interesting. Very different from what we've seen so far. Now we're back to like how we had that structure over there that looked like fancy and nice. There's a giant crab as well. Don't mind that. Oh Lord, wrong weapons. Goodbye. All right, so like I was trying to say, right back there we just went through this like fancy section, right? And then we're back here with big giant stone blocks and like what looks to be truly ancient architecture. So it's just, I mean, it makes sense. Like, how are you going to get rid of it? Like, look how massive that is. There's no way you're going to just like topple it over. I mean, you could, but like, what are you going to do about it? And it even goes way up there. Look. So like we came through a little section right down there, and we also dropped an elevator and we saw sections of place all on the way down. And look at it. It's way up there. Now, I wish I'd been angled better when I was coming down. I was facing the wrong way because there's an even better view that we can get as we like come down. Because look how high up that goes. And I mean, it is. It's like a night sky. And there's a huge old building way up there. Giant obelisk things. What's the name of this, Grace? The Siofra Riverbank. Yep. Now, come up on this thing. It's got blue glowing things to it. And some of the pictures look kind of the same too. Like what we've seen before, maybe. Columns. People in between. More groups of folks. Yeah, see, some of those are kind of like the same, except for the tip-top one, I believe. Let's try and see that. Look at that. That one's a little different, and I can't entirely tell what it's supposed to be. But it looks like we interact with it, we light a fire. And what happens? Ah, look. Now there's a fire over there. And there are how many? 8 of them. So there's going to be 8 fires we need to light. And right here we'll find ourselves a map. Siofra River. Now something I haven't done is these maps sometimes have some like stuff on them. So we're going to check it out. So here at Limgrave West. So this is like the first map we found. The Domain of Limgrave is far south of the Erdtree, is bordered to the northwest by the cliffs of Stormvale, and under its ever-clouded skies roll the great steppes of the Pale Lands. Interesting, the Pale Lands. I've never actually read that before. I don't remember that text at all, that line. And then we get east. Other than the Mistwood, which envelops the south, it is known for its land which leads to Caelid, a path trod by many a soldier in the past, which makes sense, because that's where we saw one of the sword memorial things, talking about the golden lineage, and that's like where the, you know, we read about the armies unvanquished and stuff lost their grace. And then the Weeping Peninsula. The peninsula to Limgrave's south is named for its unceasing rainfall, redolent of lament. Okay, and then Siofra River. 2 great rivers flow beneath the lands between, the Siofra and the Ainsel. This vast region is said to be the grave of civilizations that flourished before the Erdtree. So the Claymen have some old dynasty, and then there is also the Eternal City, which is down here as well. So the Eternal City was before the Erdtree then, I guess. Ooh, look at that. Blue spirit, guys. Again, kind of a different color that we haven't really seen. I want to say I have to double guessing myself a little bit. But your spirit summons, are they kind of a blue like this? I don't remember anymore. But they are big, fur wearing. They've got horns. We were just looking at how there was some bull iconography. How do you say it? Using, looks like a club weapons. I mean, they got the furs. So it's like bone or stone or something there. Even their quiver is wood. But they're spirits, right? Oh, budding horn. Interesting. So we found that randomly as well. Those guys have horns on their head, so is this significant? Rarely seen specimen of a young budding horn used for crafting items found by hunting herbivorous beasts. This horn began to sprout on a beast that typically bears no horn. Perhaps it's a vestige of the primordial crucible. Now, right, this is a parallel to the old fangs. See how I keep talking about how there's kind of like duality things? So old fangs found by hunting carnivorous, the horns are from hunting herbivores. And see how it sprout on something that typically doesn't have any horns. And perhaps it's a vestige of the primordial crucible. And this one has overlapping fangs from a single root, a vestige of the primordial crucible. So it's like all these like sprouting of like horns and fangs is all stemming from the crucible of life or something. Inverted hawk heater shield. Kind of a berserk reference. This inverted hawk is the emblem of a company of slaves ordered to explore the Eternal City. So we know the hawk is like a ancient symbol of Stormvale. Old forgotten symbol, because that's what we found on that like hawk wooden shield. This one's inverted, and it's for a company of slaves. So it's inverted maybe because they're slaves, and then they were ordered to explore the Eternal City, which makes it seem like the Eternal City was old, even when the symbol of Stormvale was not forgotten either. So for raiment, Armorer's Cookbook. Raiment fashioned from a bristly pelt worn by ancestral follower warriors. The ancestral followers keep their distance from the Erd tree, awaiting new buds. They are certain to sprout from their very flesh and indeed their souls. So ancestral followers, they want to stay away, keep their distance from the Erd tree. And I mean, they're way underground, so that makes sense. But they're waiting for new sprouts, new buds, which should sprout from their very flesh. Which, I mean, the budding horn indicates that it came from a creature that normally wouldn't have horns. You know, that it's not a typical thing. So maybe that's what they're waiting to have happen to them, is they're waiting for horns to sprout on themselves. I was hoping I could break his voice. Oops. Now it talks about how they're waiting for it to also like even bud from their very souls. So are these things that we're fighting, are they souls? Now right there, one. Not what I was looking for. I was talking about the ball right there. There's only a couple places that those things show up, and they're very strange, and there's gotta be something significant about them. And I don't know what they're called. I don't know what the heck, anything about them. But on this little island that they're patrolling, there's a dead guy and a teleporter. So we're gonna go through it because we can. Now if we look on the map, right, we were over there. We touched on that island, maybe? Yeah, that one. And that put us way over here. So we are going to try and just get this last little bit right here. And then I think we will call this one, because I want to keep them short, right? I'm already at 30 minutes. It's crazy how the time flies. But I want to keep these within like 30 minutes. So let's go up here. We can see there's another one of those obelisk things with flames. Now look how they're sitting there. They're stomping. They're facing that way, which, I mean, there's that building way up there, which if we take and get a look at it, let's see. Would like to get a look, please? It almost looks like there's kind of fiery effects going on there. And I mean, there is a big light up there. More structures. That's like nebulous looking there. Like there's kind of the sky section around most of it, right? And then like right there in particular, it looks very nebula-y to me. And see how the rats are with them too. And that's something I haven't mentioned, is like all around us, this whole map, like all around these like followers and stuff, there have been animals, like big swarms of deer, boar, like just all kinds of creatures. So they seem to have a pretty good like connection to animal life. Now see, these guys are facing a different direction, so maybe there is no significance in the direction that they're facing. But we can see there's kind of like that blend of the architectures again. Like look how we're getting close to right there where it's the different structures, like I would say newer, right? And this guy's got a whole different weapon. He's got a big old thing with like antlers on it. Yeah, it just blends right up into it. It goes into the rocks. And there's a lot more structure over there. I never noticed it before. So there's an Erd tree right here, but look at these plants right here. I don't remember if this was like that on these like little illusory Erd tree things. Like, see how there's golden, like they are golden leaved flowers or plants. Look at that. Look at that structure. It's so cool, man. Like, look how it's like hanging from up on the ceiling, like it's upside down into something else. And then you can see similar things if way up above us when we get at a different angle. But something I never really noticed and like appreciated before is like, right, we've got all these waterfalls and stuff. Like, we're at this river, and it's supposed to, it must be like a massive river. If we've got waterfalls and stuff flowing down through, there seem to be aqueduct sections. There's a section of river there, and like more that were over there, dropping down and waterfalling way down into the depths. Like, you can see it. See the flowing water way down there. Like, it goes far. All right, things can get a little sketchy here. So now we'll start seeing these archer dudes, and look how their arrows are like all charged up and like elongated, like magical arrows. Owie, and look at the size of that thing. It's huge. And the regular arrows are clearly nowhere near that size. Now, I got a decent look there. It looks like the horns on them weren't actually like attached to their head. It's not like, you know, we were reading this thing talking about horns budding from, oh, that's interesting. Horns budding from creatures that they shouldn't be. But those looked like they were part of a headdress. Like, I could see a band that like connected to them. Now, what is this? Because this looks weird and kind of, I don't know. I mean, part of it might be blood from that rat, but like, formic rock. Okay. So I'm going to be frank. I don't ever remember finding that before. So it's a rock formed from solidified giant ant venom. Giant ants. Highly acidic. It's used for crafting items. Found near Siofra River and other places where giant ants live. So there are giant ants. Like, what? Awesome. But I mean, that's the only evidence we've seen of that so far. Like, it's not like it's all over the place. We haven't seen any giant ants. Just spirit people, herbivores, you know. And I mean, speaking of, I mean, in general, what have been the other like bug things we found? It's been, you know, it's been giant dragonflies. We've seen those. There's been word of scorpion, like the mark of the centipede, not scorpion, mark of the centipede. There's a scorpion amulet talking about like it was like an assassin thing or something, right? Carried by assassins who strike unseen pattern on a scorpion, right? But like, really, we don't see any crazy other animals. It's always like beasts, you know, and birds. So it's, you know, what's the deal with the insects, right? Now, speaking of talismans, we did have this clarifying horn, an accoutrement worn by the ancestral followers, raises focus, said to be a budding horn. And you can see it there, like, look at the end of it. See how it is? It's kind of like the end of like a flower, like its flower starting to kind of blossom. The ancestral followers believe that the horns of a long-lived beast continue to bud like antlers over and over again until the beast one day becomes an ancestral spirit. So there's some long-lived beast that the horns will continue to bud like antlers, like growing and growing and growing until it becomes an ancestral spirit. And is that who they follow? Huh. But we're going to hit this up, and we're going to call it. This is going to take 2 stone sword keys. We have quite a bit. I did just get one a minute ago. There's, like, white flame colorations. Super dark. Oh, it's going fast, dude. Holy cow. I haven't even looked at the overmap, right? We've just been looking at the underground map. So I don't even know in, like, relation to the overworld, like, where are we gonna spit out at? Caelid. The Caelid wilds, right? Deep Siofra not will. Oh. Look at those old roots. The sky is like red. Oh, there's some of those those things that hang around the jails. Okay. And there we are. Just to the other side of this section right here. So yeah, the beginnings of the Caelid Wilds, and we are right over here. There's a map section here. Now, we're going to go right here, because there's something to see. You can see him right there, Rune Bear. But look how different he is. Look at his fur. It's like extra shaggy looking. There's some more of those faded early flowers, which we know have something to do with the rot, scarlet rot. And even these trees, like, look how, I mean, I assume these are parts of trees or roots for something. Roots to what? Are they part of roots to the Erd tree? But the Erd tree's way over there. Maybe they're parts for, like, a minor Erd tree. The spacing doesn't quite line up, so I don't know. There he is. Let's go, buddy. Oh, my God. I forgot he does that. Does a lot of damage as well. Oh, he is hyper aggressive. He's so much more aggressive than the other ones. And he did that huge leap. Come on. Oh. Two. Bear hug? Oh, roar. Okay, that's different. Oh, good stagger. Another good chop on the way. Get him in the head. Comes a third one. All right. Big. Oh, I shouldn't have tried to do that. Good try, bud. There's like a part of me that's like thinking I could mess that up, and then if I get grabbed by him, I think I would die. No, I really thought he dropped something unique. That poor dude, though, he was like gone completely savage, and more savage than he already was, I guess. There is an item over here, and oh, hello, bunch of crystals, and we recognize that. We see we got a stone sword key back. We've seen the it's glintstone. We know that's glintstone. And that's one of those stone faces. We found one on the Witchbane ruins that's doing all kinds of stuff. So that's going on there. Leads us up this way. And where does the other way take us? Another big path following them along. And it's almost taking us towards that minor Erd tree in a way. Except it looks like it maybe curves off to the right. That's a different journey for a different day. Thanks for checking it out. We're going to end it here. Definitely need to make sure we cut this down a bit. And then on the next one, we will actually fully clear out the Siofra River. So thanks for checking out. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Got us a little bit in there. And until the next one, take care.